Everyone in the restaurant knew him, not because he was kind, generous, or had a reputation for philanthropy. No, the billionaire who walked into La Belle Nuit every Thursday afternoon was feared. Not feared in the sense of physical danger, of course, but feared in the quiet, nerve-wracking way that a storm is feared. His name was Victor Hawthorne, and in the elite circles of the city, he was a legend, a man whose wealth could build cities, whose influence could topple empires. Yet, to the staff of the restaurant, he was a nightmare. Victor's visits were never ordinary. The moment he stepped through the restaurant doors, his presence shifted the air, and everyone became aware of their posture, tone, and every word. They said he had a particular style of cruelty, one that did not need raised voices or tantrums. A simple frown, a sharp word, or a dismissive gesture was enough to leave employees trembling. Waiters and waitresses, even the most experienced, would find themselves second-guessing every step as he passed by. On this Thursday, the restaurant hummed with its usual quiet elegance. Soft jazz played in the background. The polished floors reflected the afternoon light streaming through tall windows, and patrons whispered to each other over their wine glasses. Yet in one corner, a table had been reserved for the man who could make or break the mood with a single word: Victor Hawthorne. The staff had prepared meticulously. Victor was notoriously picky. He never ate the same dish twice, and his complaints when he had them were legendary. Some said he had fired 3 chefs in a month once because the soup did not speak to him. Others claimed he had walked out of a 5-star gala, dismissing an entire banquet because the lobster was mediocre at best. Among the staff was Jasmine, a young black waitress who had joined La Belle Nuit 6 months ago. Jasmine was not new to hard work, nor was she easily intimidated. She had grown up in a neighborhood where people thrived not on fear but on resilience, learning early that respect had to be earned, not demanded. Her presence in the restaurant was often overlooked by patrons, not because she was quiet, but because she didn't fit the mold of what the upper-class clientele expected. Jasmine was sharp, attentive, and carried herself with a confidence that many had yet to notice. That day, Jasmine was assigned to Victor's table. She had heard the whispers from her coworkers, the nervous murmurs warning her of his temper, the subtle glances of dread as he entered the room. She took a deep breath, reminded herself of her training, and approached him with a steady smile. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome back to La Belle Nuit," Jasmine said, her voice calm. Professional. Victor looked up from the menu with eyes that seemed to dissect every molecule of her being. His lips curled into a smirk, not quite friendly, not entirely cruel, but enough to unsettle her. HMPH. "Finally, someone new," he said. His voice was smooth, yet it carried an undertone of challenge, as if he were testing her immediately. "I hope you know how things work here. I don't like to wait. I don't like mistakes. And I certainly don't like excuses." Jasmine nodded. "Politely, of course, sir. Make sure everything is perfect for you today." Victor leaned back, crossing his legs, observing her like a predator sizing up its prey. The first request came quickly. "I'll have the seared salmon, but it must be cooked exactly medium rare. Make sure the asparagus is fresh, not that limp, soggy nonsense I had last time." "Yes, sir." "Right away," Jasmine replied, retreating to the kitchen with poise. She delivered his order exactly as requested. Yet, as with all things Victor, perfection alone was rarely enough. When the salmon arrived at the table, Victor took one bite and paused, his eyes narrowing. "Interesting. The salmon is okay, I suppose, but it lacks passion, and this asparagus. It's not vibrant enough. Looks tired." The other staff froze, waiting for the eruption that was surely coming. Some were on the verge of apologizing for a mistake they hadn't made. Jasmine, however, remained calm. She bent slightly toward him, maintaining eye contact without flinching. "Apologize if it doesn't meet your expectations, sir," she said evenly. "Would you like me to have the chef prepare a fresh plate for you?" Victor raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. No one had ever dared speak to him like this, not with such calm assurance. HMPH, usually they panic, they beg, they try to explain themselves. You just asked me what I want. Interesting. Jasmine nodded. I want to make sure you have exactly what you desire, sir. Victor leaned back in his chair, studying her. It was clear he was intrigued. The dynamic had shifted, subtly but unmistakably. The other waiters watched from a distance, eyes wide, waiting for the storm that never came. Minutes later, when the chef brought a freshly prepared dish, Jasmine presented it with care. Victor examined it, poking at the salmon lightly with his fork. Then he took a bite. His expression softened just slightly, but enough to be noticed. This is acceptable, he said finally. Not great, but acceptable. The other staff exhaled quietly, relief washing over them like a wave. Jasmine, however, remained composed. She smiled politely and returned to the next table, but she couldn't ignore the small shift in the air around her. Victor Hawthorne, the man who had made so many employees quake in fear, had not only tolerated her presence, but seemed intrigued by her calm authority. As the weeks passed, Jasmine continued to serve Victor. Each visit was a test, a careful dance of professionalism and subtle defiance. She never flinched at his sharp remarks, never apologized unnecessarily, always maintained the same steady confidence that had first caught his attention. Soon, whispers began to spread among the staff. "Look at her," one waiter said quietly. "She doesn't even seem afraid of him. She's different," another murmured. "I've never seen him act like that before." Victor, meanwhile, seemed to develop a grudging respect for Jasmine. His visits became less tense, his complaints more specific, almost constructive. He still demanded excellence, but the fear that once rippled through the restaurant like a storm was replaced with a curious respect. One Thursday afternoon, a particularly audacious challenge arose. Victor had brought a client, a wealthy, influential man who had never dined at La Belle Noix. Victor insisted on an elaborate tasting menu, one that pushed the kitchen to its limits. The orders were complicated, the timing precise, and the expectations impossibly high. The kitchen staff was nervous. They glanced at Jasmine, silently asking for reassurance. Jasmine, as always, approached Victor's table with a calm smile. "Good afternoon, sir. We'll make sure everything is perfect today," she said. Victor smirked. "We'll see. Don't disappoint me." Hours passed as the dishes came and went. Each plate was a test, each bite scrutinized. Victor's client watched the interactions in fascination, noting the subtle tension and the unwavering confidence of the young waitress, who dared to stand firm in the face of a man known for breaking others. Finally, the last dish was served, a delicate chocolate soufflé, the centerpiece of the tasting menu. Victor cut into it carefully, took a bite, and then looked at Jasmine. For the first time, a genuine smile crossed his face. "Well," he said, his voice softer, almost approving, "you've done it. This is perfect." Jasmine inclined her head politely. "I'm glad you enjoyed it, sir." Victor's client, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. "I've never seen anyone handle him like that," he said, astonished. "Most people would be shaking in their shoes." Jasmine smiled, a quiet, confident smile. "Sometimes, sir, respect is earned, not demanded," she said, her eyes steady on Victor's. Victor looked at her, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. He nodded slightly, an acknowledgement of the truth in her words. The staff, watching from a distance, erupted in silent cheers. Jasmine had done something no one had dared to do before. She had shown Victor Hawthorne, the rude billionaire, who was truly in charge. After that day, Victor's visits changed. He was still demanding, still exacting, but the fear was gone. He treated Jasmine differently, not as a servant, but as an equal in the delicate dance of service and expectation. The staff noticed, and a quiet respect for Jasmine spread throughout the restaurant. What had started as an ordinary job had become a lesson in courage, professionalism, and the power of quiet confidence. Jasmine had not only earned the respect of the staff and the billionaire, but had also proven something more profound, that true authority does not come from wealth, status, or intimidation. It comes from the strength to stand firm, the courage to speak truth, and the grace to command respect without demanding it. And so, in the elegant, bustling halls of La Belle Nuit, the story of the black waitress who tamed the rude billionaire became legend. Patrons whispered about it. New employees heard about it on their first day. Jasmine continued to serve, not just with skill, but with the quiet authority that had changed everything. Victor Hawthorne, for all his billions in influence, had finally met someone who could match him, not with power or wealth, but with poise, intelligence, and an unshakable sense of self. And in that realization, he found something he had never experienced before: respect earned the hard way, and a lesson in humility he would never forget.